as revealed in our scriptures, that there are 8.4 million living forms in existence. And out of the 8.4 million forms in existence, it is only we as humans have been blessed with the gift of knowledge. We have been endowed with the power of discrimination. Bharat Hari tells us, Ahar nidra bhayamai thunancha samanya metat pashubhir naranam jnano hitesha madhiko vishesho jnane nahinah pashubhi samanah. There are 4 attributes that we possess as humans that other living beings, living creatures also possess. 4. Ahar, we eat. They also eat. Nidra, sleep. Bhay, fear. Maithun, procreate. So, in this respect, we as humans and other living creatures are the same. And yet, there is a difference between us as humans and other living creatures. There's one attribute that sets us apart. And what is that? Knowledge. Known as Vivek in Hindi. And it is for this reason that the Vedas, they alert us. The Vedas caution us. What do they tell us? Ihache dashakat bodhum praksharirasya visrasah tatah sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. Realize the importance of this human birth and do not waste it in merely eating, drinking, and partying. Because the benefits of this human form are inaccessible even to the celestial gods and goddesses. So the Vedas tell us that having attained this precious human life, we must strive to reach our goal. Else, we will set ourselves up for endless despair. Because there's no other form of life in which we can do anything toward the attainment of our higher goal. And therefore, it is important to know what we are looking for in life. What are we searching for in life? If we gather the 7 billion humans in existence at one place and ask them one question, what are you searching for in life? We will end up with more than 7 billion answers to this one question, because every individual will give more than one answer to this question. What are they looking for? The fact is that in one day alone, we desire many things. It is obvious that if someone were to start noting down what each and every individual desires in the course of a lifetime, that person will keep on writing and never finish. Such is the extent of desires. Yat prithivyam vriyavam hiranyam pashavah striyah nalamekasya paryaptam tasmat trishnam parityajet. Bhagavatam. If a person was to be given all the objects and wealth and women of this world, his desires will still keep on escalating. They will keep on multiplying forever. There is a story in this regard which explains or which depicts this very point about desires. In a forest near a village, there lived a guru and a disciple who spent all their time in prayer and meditation. So one day, the guru decided to go on a long pilgrimage. And as he bid farewell to his disciple, he said, "My son, remember all that I have taught you and lead a simple life." "Yes, Guruji, I will," replied the disciple as he lay himself before his guru. Now the disciple's possessions were very limited. He had 2 loin cloths. Every day he would wear one and wash the other. And as was the custom for ascetics, he begged at the village for alms. So one day when he returned from the village after begging, he saw a rat running off with a piece of his spare loincloth. So he quickly checked, and sure enough, his spare loincloth was full of holes. So he said, "Oh no, I'm going to have to ask for another one from the village." So when he went to the village the following day, he asked for one also. "I will give you one. I have a new one, O holy sage," replied the villager. So the disciple, he gratefully accepted the loincloth and decided that from then on he would dry his loincloth on top of the hut so that the rats would not get to it. But he was wrong, because the following day when he returned from the village after begging, he saw that his spare loincloth was once again torn up by the rats. So he figured that he has to find a solution to this problem. He thought, "I will get a cat to deal with this problem." So he got a cat, and within no time, all the rats disappeared. They disappeared. And then this disciple began to think that I must keep this cat well fed. She's doing such a great job. I know I will get a cow. So then he got a cow from the benevolent villagers, and he took care of her. So the cow was happy, and so was the cat. "I need straw for my cow," he began to think. "I should cultivate the land around my hut, and when the grain will be harvested, I will have all the straw that my cow would need." So he cultivated the land, and it produced a good crop. So he hired laborers to build barn. The disciple found that his needs were growing day by day. And soon, the hermitage where he lived was replaced by a lavish estate. Living a life of luxury, he decided to get married and raise a family. Now, one day, his guru returned from his long pilgrimage. And when he got there, he thought, have I come to the wrong place? The guru thought as he looked around at the lavish estate. Then finding that he was in the right place, he worried that perhaps a rich man drove his poor disciple away and established his estate there where the hermitage used to be. So just then he saw a servant and he called out to him, "Hey, my good man, you know, an ascetic used to live over here. Do you know where he is now?" So the servant said, he stuttered. He stuttered. Just then, the disciple heard his guru's voice. He was inside the house, and he rushed out to greet him. The guru said, "What is all this? I left you here to lead a simple life, and I returned to find you surrounded by all this wealth and possessions. What happened?" So the disciple, he remorsefully said, "My Gurudev, all of this started with one single loincloth. He started with one loincloth, and I got a cat, and there is no end to my desires, to my needs. Please forgive me." So such is the nature of desires. Such is the extent of desires. So we find that we have a number of desires every moment. The presence of desires denotes that something is lacking within us. What is it? Actually, no one knows. But to fulfill that void, our mind plans something which appears in the form of desires, which are products of our own mind. And everyone's desires, they differ according to their intellect. According to their intellect, everyone's desires, they differ. From childhood to old age, everyone has their own set of desires, and yet they are confined to the 5 subjects of our 5 senses: sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. Shri Krishna tells us in the Gita that the nature of desires is such: Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate. Shri Maharaj tells us in the Radha Govind Geet, Kamana ki purti mein Govind Radhe Chin chin man mah lobh बढ़ा दे आग की ज्वाला में गोविंद राधे जितना भी घृत डालो आग बढ़ा दे ऐसे ही जितना भी गोविंद राधे जग मिले उतना ही लोभ बढ़ा दे, कामना आपूर्ति में गोविंद राधे, क्रोध तुरत उत्पन्न हो बता दे. So these dohas are a translation of this verse from the Gita as revealed by Shri Krishna. So in these dohas, Shri Maharaj explains to us that the nature of desires is such that if desires are fulfilled, then what happens? Greed arises. And that fulfillment multiplies ambition. It's just like adding fuel to a fire. And if desires are not fulfilled, if they remain unfulfilled, then what happens? Then feelings of anger and dejection, they arise. So both ways, anxiety remains and desires never end. A question arises as to what prompts desires? What is the reason that we have desires in the first place? So again, Shri Maharaji sheds light in our path, and he tells us, Anand paane ki Govind Radhe, जीव में नित्य आकांक्षा बता दे. Inherent within every individual, it is innate within every individual to desire happiness. Every moment we are aspiring for happiness, pleasure. Shri Maharaji tells us. Shukadeva Paramhans told I unfortunately keep hearing cell phones buzzing. This is a humble request to you all. If any of you have your cell phone not turned off, please do so. Thank you. Shukadeva Paramhans told Parikshit in the Bhagavatam, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko nataihi sukham vanya duparamam va vindeta bhuyas tata eva dukkham yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadenah. Every individual soul endeavors for the attainment of happiness. He further says, Sarvesham api bhutanam nripasvatmaiva ballabha itare patya vittadyas tadvallabhatayaivahi. Bhagavatam. That the ultimate motive behind each and every action of each and every individual is happiness of the self. In other words, we care only about our happiness, our own happiness. This is what Shukadeva Paramhans explained to Parikshit in the Bhagavatam. So the root, in essence, the root of all desires is the inborn desire of every soul, which is to experience happiness. The pleasure is what we care for, what we strive for every moment. So the pursuit of pleasure has been an aching problem before every individual of the world. Intellectuals try to feed their intellect with deep philosophical thoughts. Scientists, they try to seek it in matter. Ordinary people involved themselves in lust, leisure, and luxury. And some consoled. Some were running after fame, which they thought was within their reach. And some consoled themselves by looking into their monetary achievements and the heights of fame and goodwill which they have earned at the cost of constant, undesirable sacrifices. But still, their conscious soul reproached them every moment. You have not yet reached your goal, which you have sought since eternity. Millions of years passed, thousands of births taken, but the circular race has not ended. The wealth of the Incas and the sovereignty of the Mughals all failed to fulfill their ambitions. Kingdoms rose and they fell. Politicians gained great heights, but still their inner conscience haunted them and declared that the goal is not yet reached. Shri Maharaj tells us that everyone in the world is rushing after higher and higher material possessions, but the highest is never reached. From rich to poor, from foolish to wise, from young to old, everyone is involved in such an intellectual contemplation that has no beginning and no end. We can try to understand this through an example. So just imagine that there are some people running in a circle where a person overtakes somebody, and sometimes that person is overtaken by somebody else. Now, everyone has an extreme will of running, so the speed, rather, everyone has an extreme will of overtaking. So the speed of running is being increased. But they still remain within that circle. They still remain within that circle. In the same way, living in the present age is becoming faster and faster due to the possessing tendencies of individuals. And yet, it is encircled around the 5 subjects of our 5 physical senses of sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. There's a very instructive incident involving the life of Alexander, the great Macedonian king. Alexander, after conquering many kingdoms, he was returning home. On the way, he fell ill, and his illness took him to his deathbed. With death staring him in the face, Alexander realized how his conquests, his great army, and his sharp sword, and all his wealth were of no consequence. He longed to go home. He longed to go home to see his mother's face and bid her his last adieu. But he had to accept the fact that his sinking body, his sinking health, would not allow him to reach his distant homeland. So the mighty conqueror, he lay prostrate and pale, helplessly waiting to breathe his last. Breathe his last. So he called upon his generals and he said, I will depart this world soon. I have 3 wishes which I would like you to fulfill without fail. So with tears rolling down their cheeks, the generals assured him that they would abide by his last wishes. So what were his wishes? The first, Alexander said, that I want my physicians only my physicians must carry my coffin. He paused and continued, when my coffin is being carried to the grave, the path leading to the graveyard be strewn with gold, silver, and precious jewels, precious gems, which I have gathered in my treasury. The king felt exhausted, so he paused for a minute, and he continued. And he said, my third and last wish is that both my hands should be kept dangling out of the coffin. So the people around that had gathered around wondered at the strange wishes of the king, but no one would dare bring the question to their lips. So the king's favorite general, he kissed his hand and pressed it against his heart. And he said, O king, we assure you that all of your wishes will be fulfilled. But please tell us, why do you have such strange wishes? So the king took a long, deep breath and he said, I want the world to know 3 lessons that I have learned today. The first, I want my physicians to carry my coffin because people should realize that no doctor is capable of curing anyone. They are powerless and cannot save anyone from the clutches of death. So let not people take life for granted. The path leading to the graveyard be strewn with precious jewels, gold, silver, so that people should know that there's not a fraction of gold that will come with me. I spent my entire life gathering all of these precious riches, but I cannot take anything with me. So I want people to know that it is a sheer waste of time to chase wealth. And my desire to keep my hands, both my hands, dangling from the coffin because I want people to know that I came into this world empty-handed, and empty-handed I go from this world. गर्भ से ना लाया कछु गोविंद राधे, संग भी न जाए कछु मन को बता दे, मुट्ठी बांधे आया था तू गोविंद राधे, हाथ पसारे जाए मन को बता दे. गर्भ से न लाया कछु, राधा गोविंद गीत. Shri Maharaj ji tells us that when we came from our mother's womb, we didn't bring anything with us. And when we leave this world, we will not take anything with us. Muthi bandhe aaya tha, we came with our fists closed. And yet, when we will leave, they will be open. It is the nature of nature that the end of fastness is collision. And collision means paralyzing the adopted system. So the same process begins, leading to the same fate. Leading to the same fate. The question then is, why are we running so fast? Have we achieved what we desire, or are we going to achieve what we have eternally sought? And what is our own that we are so desperately searching for? If sensual objects were our true desire, then we should have been satisfied by now. If they were our true desire, then we should have been satisfied by now. But that is not the case. Then this means that the finding of our mind is something else, and the finding of our inner conscience is something other. We can try to understand through an example. A few months old child is hungry, and when he's hungry, he cries. But he doesn't know the reason or the cause of his uneasiness. And so, according to his understanding, according to the decision of his intellect, he tries to console himself by putting the toy that he's holding in his hand into his mouth. So what happens? For a moment he feels consoled, and yet in the next moment he throws it and looks for something else to feel satisfied. To feel satisfied. Yes. So in the same way, our mind does not know anything about our real inner urge. But due to the constant feeling of dissatisfaction caused by that inner demand, we give ourselves all of these objects of this world in hope of feeling satisfied. But because these objects are not the true, actual desire of ourself, we can never be satisfied by any standard of material achievements. None. A child leaves his mother's hand by mistake in a fair. Now he's crying and desperately searching, looking for his mother. So he looks in the face of every woman that he comes across, hoping that one of them is his mother. He's searching, he's crying, yes. And when he finds his real mother, his search and his cry stops. Now he's not willing to look into the face of any other woman. Why? Because he has found his own mother. In the same way, until and unless we find what is really and truly ours, our search will continue. It will continue. Rushing into material things is not going to help. It is not going to lessen. It is only going to further aggravate our anxiety. Our worries will only multiply. So what is our real own that we are searching through our senses with the help of our mind? I want to continue and I want to give you the answer to this question, but I can look across the audience and I can see who's listening and who's not. I can see who is sleeping and who is listening. So, in an effort to wake up everyone, I'm going to do a few minutes of kirtan. So please, sit up straight, wake up, and clap. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda 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 Govinda Radhe 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govind Govind 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Govind Govind Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govind Govind Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe Radhe 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 Radhe
बोलिए श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की लाडली लाल की My lecture is not over yet. So hopefully that helped. Radhe Radhe everyone. Okay, so I have a short 15 minutes, maybe a long 15 minutes for some of you. All right, so let me continue. Whew. Okay, so I left off with a question. What is our real own that we are seeking, searching for, through our senses with the help of our mind? The divine theology states that we, the individual soul, we are a spark of divinity. So, being a fraction of divinity, it is our nature to desire that which is divine. Chinmatram Shri Hare Ransham Sukshmam Aksharam Avyayam Krishnadhinamiti Prahur Jivam Jnana Gunashrayam Ved Ya Upranasya Pranaha Prashnopanishad Sapare Akshara Atmani Sampratishthate Kenopanishad Mamaivansho Jivaloke Jivabhutah Sanatanah Gita Ishvara Ansh Jiva Avinashi Chetana Amal Sahaj Sukharashi Ramayana Harir Deha Brita Mahatma Yatha Prakritirishvara Yat Padamulam Sharanam Yatah Kshemo Nidamiha Bhagavatam. So all of these scriptures from the Vedas, the Ramayana, advocate, they echo that we, the soul, are a part of a fraction of God. And therefore, we can only rest, our restlessness can only be tamed, or it can be eliminated through our union with divinity. Another question arises: if everyone is searching and seeking divine pleasure, then why do we find joy and pleasure in sensual things and sensual interactions and objects and people. Why? So again, the divine scriptures tell us that even though the soul is a spark of divinity, is divine, the mind and the body are products of Maya. And it is the nature of two similar elements to attract one another. So the material world, it attracts our senses and our mind. But in reality, we are not the mind, we're not the body, but the mind and the body are attached to our true self, the soul, the Jivatma. And that is why in the world we see that if anyone expires or dies, then their body remains, but the soul departs. So this means that we are not the physical body, but we are the individual soul, a spark of divinity. However, in the awaking state, when we are in the waking state, we feel ourselves as though we are our mental ego as our true identity. And that is why we take the objects of the world and enjoy them as though they are really and truly ours. We try to derive pleasure from the worldly objects because of the similarity between our mind and matter. That's why. However, because the reality is something else, our conscious soul declares its denial in the form of dissatisfaction that we experience every moment. We experience dissatisfaction every moment. At the same time, our mind strongly asserts that no, pleasure has been received, though not in full, and that is why we run after lust to make it full. To make it full. And that is why in every enjoyment and in every increased sensational climax, we're looking for, with full hope, for that satisfaction. We look for it in every moment. In this way, instantly or in the far future, we expect perfect experience of joy and happiness. But in the meantime, our present, it remains dissatisfied. That is what happens. A beggar eats a piece of sweet and he thinks he likes it, he relishes it, and he thinks that if I could only get 10 pieces of the same sweet, my happiness will multiply. It will multiply. So he's thinking that the joy and happiness that he is deriving or is experiencing from his present standard and facilities will be enhanced if only he could receive more of that sweet. But pleasure does not lie in the quantity or the standard of anything. It is the effect of three things. First, our mental coherence with the person that we desire. Second, deep longing for an object or a person. And third, material similarity of the mind with the desired object. Where there is deep longing, when we associate with that object of our attachment, we experience pleasure. Where there is deep longing. But after a while, we find that after associating with that object or person, after however long, we get bored and we look for something else for our entertainment. And even though material pleasure or material attraction is the same across the board, the degree of aspiration or the degree of coveting, it increases or determines the measure of our experience of that happiness. That is what happens. A poor woman is hugging her child, and a queen is hugging her child. The pleasure taken is the same. Their status does not increase or decrease their experience of joy or happiness. When two people in the world have a favorable wish toward each other, their mental coherence appears in a pleasing form, what we call love in this world. Love. Now, this love is totally dependent on favorable coincidence of thoughts. Even an unexpected word spoken from either side could turn that love into neutrality, hate, anger, or even revenge. Love is finished, pleasure is gone. It's gone. So we can imagine how unsteady material love, in fact, is. It is an image or a picture that we paint, and we destroy in our own mind. In essence, we are searching for divine happiness. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. And divine happiness is unlimited, unending, ever increasing. That is what we are, in fact, searching for. But due to lack of understanding, due to our own ignorance, we are searching for that happiness in the world where it does not exist. So it is our own ignorance that leads us to believe that that is where it is, when in fact it is not. There was once a man who went to visit India, and everything he saw in India, he found it very fascinating. For someone who was born and brought up there, for this man, everything was fascinating. He saw a situation that he had never seen before. How people purchased their vegetables. You know, here we have nice, clean supermarkets. In India, typically, as we know, they sit on the side of the street, spread a piece of cloth, and then they pile different kinds of vegetables. So this visitor to India decided to sit down and watch the comings and the goings of the people. So he was watching how everyone that came to that vendor, how they checked each vegetable. And he noticed that everyone that came and how they bargained with him. And he noticed that everyone that came to him, they bought from a different pile. But everyone that came to him also bought from the one pile. So he thought that everyone is buying it, it must be fabulous. And I'm here to experience everything about India, so I must experience that vegetable. It is called mirchi in Hindi. A green chili pepper, but the India version. Not a jalapeno, no. He said, give me a lot of this. So then the man sold it to him, and he took it and he sat it in his lap with great expectation. He took one out and he chewed it. Can you imagine the sensation? So he reached in the bag and he ate another one. And of course his face was beet red. His ears were smoking and his mouth was on fire. Tears coming out of his eyes. But that did not stop him. He reached in the bag for a third one until the vendor came to him and said, "What are you doing to yourself? Why are you eating these chilies? I can see how much pain they are causing you. Why?" So the innocent man said, "I'm looking for a sweet one." He said, "I'm looking for a sweet one." We are that innocent man in the story. Because day after day, week after week, year after year, we are looking for that happiness in this world that surrounds us, this external world, God's creation, and through our internal world of emotions, we're looking for with full hope and expectation that it does exist. I didn't get it, but I will get it, and I will get it in the future. That is what we're doing. We're searching for with full hope and expectations. But it doesn't matter what we do and how creative we get. It doesn't matter how many prosperity courses we take, how many classes we take to perfect our relationships, and how much we do to change our appearance, Botox and whatever else. It doesn't matter how much wealth we accumulate and how many possessions we gather. We cannot expect to find that perfect happiness in this world, just like we cannot make a chili sweet. So, it is only our ignorance that leads us to believe that it does exist here. Shri Maharaj tells us, even if we're saying that, okay, I want wealth, and I want possessions. Yes. But because it is against our nature to receive or acquire anything in limitations, we don't want anything in limitations, because limitations is contrary to who we are. We want, even if we want wealth or possessions or whatever, we want them in unlimited quantities. That is what we want. And unlimited can only be divine. Everything in limitations identifies as world. But everything that is unlimited, infinite, ever increasing, identifies with the divine. And because we are the divine soul, it is our nature to desire nothing else but the divine. So to answer the question, what are we searching for in life? We're searching for perfect divine happiness that is synonymous with God, with Shri Krishna. Raso vai saha rasagvam hyevayam ladva nandi bhavati. Taittariya Upanishad. So, we desire perfection, perfect divine happiness, perfect divine love. So, I will conclude my lecture with these thoughts. And thank you for listening. And thank you for paying attention. I appreciate it very much. Shrimad Sadhguru Sarkar ki, Shrimad Yugal Sarkar ki, Pyari Pyari Amma ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri